SpongeBob's my favorite show of all time. I was in elementary school when the first 3 seasons were airing, and by 2004, when the first SpongeBob movie was coming out, I was the target demographic, and I bet you no one was a bigger fan than me. Prove me wrong, I'll fight you. My sponge mania was at a crazy-ass high. My entire life revolved around this sponge. I had it all. SpongeBob clothes, video games, all the episodes on DVD, posters, plushies, books, Legos, a SpongeBob-themed birthday party. Nobody ripped harder than me. I had the promotional art they had on the outside of Burger King to promote the movie. I still have that. That's precious memory cargo. I was known as a SpongeBob kid at school. All I would do is talk about the show. Kids would pay me their lunch money to do the laugh on the playground. Yeah, I still got it. I knew all the facts about the series, inside and out, behind the scenes and in front. I didn't eat seafood for a fucking decade because of this cartoon. Back then, if SpongeBob had said drink the Kool-Aid, I'd have done it. I'm 30, and I tell you life beats you down. This show hits different now. I rewatched through my DVD collection this past year, and that sent me. I saw it all in like a new light. The classic Hillenburg episodes were literally just written by a group of friends all trying to make each other laugh. The term by adults, for adults is thrown around a lot, especially with OF nowadays. But for real, dog, it's like kind of better as an adult. So, using some research and my own writer's intuition, here's some wild shit I noticed. Yeah, after working at In-N-Out for 5 years, a lot of the Krusty Krab episodes hit me on a more personal level. This one in particular,
4x4 animal style.
SpongeBob struggles to remember how to put burgers together and loses it in the face of his critics. I rewatched this one while I was trying to get a raise learning the exact same skill he is here, and I swear to God I was wearing underwear on my head too. Keeping up with customer demand at that restaurant is whack when you're a little Asian boy. This episode could be about one of two things: drugs or sex. As Tom Kenny describes it in the Season 1 DVD audio commentary.
Like, the joke of this is that SpongeBob has something he's not allowed to do, and Sandy just wants to do it all the time.
That's right.
That thing being, of course, karate.
I can't believe these commentary tracks made it onto the DVD releases. You can tell the writers and actors don't give a shit about it, and they're just all fucking around in the recording booth, not taking it seriously.
I'm sitting next to Carolyn right now, and I'm very proud of myself. I just want to start macking on her.
I'm bubbling.
But I'm not. I'm drinking my coffee. I'm
Here's
not even going to say any more about it.
I love it when she begs.
This was 15 years before the Me Too movement. This one's about going to a foreign country and feeling uncomfortable and confused by their language and social customs. Very xenophobic. I think one of the writers must have gotten stuck in Mexico for a night or something, like he missed his flight or some shit. And then they came up with this one. This should have been the Season 1 finale. I think it's one of the best episodes of the series. This episode made SpongeBob my fucking hero. In 11 minutes, he fulfills an ancient prophecy, becomes a god, and makes Neptune his bitch. It's glorious. And he does it all while being his geeky, humble little self. The character of classic SpongeBob is nothing if not true to himself in every way. He doesn't give a fuck about what others think of him. He is who he is, he likes what he likes, and he stands up for himself and his friends. Even if it's to the Roman god of the sea who could cap his ass on the spot. He beats Neptune in a cooking challenge, wins the honor of living as a god in Atlantis, and fucking bawls his eyes out like a little kid. Because real men cry in public, on stage, in front of thousands of people. I think this is why so many millions of viewers have connected with the character of SpongeBob. Because he's a simple man who has nothing to give but love for himself and those around him. He never does anything to purposefully harm anyone, nor does he ever seek vengeance. And he's like perfectly content with his life. Happy with what he has, never wanting more. He'd rather stay at home with his friends and his minimum wage job than live a flashy life of vanity. We love him because he's comfortable with who he is, not because he's random and wacky or loud and obnoxious, and not because Nickelodeon labeled him as asexual for the marketing clout. Whether he is or is not misses the point. I mean, who gives a shit anyway? My man pulled a golden spatula from an ancient grease bucket. Don't fuck with him. Beyond that, I see this episode as a commentary on the mass production of merchandise and media. Quality over quantity is the message here. Something Hillenburg was definitely an advocate of, and ironically a mantra that was completely lost from the show the second he quit, along with the staff's understanding of SpongeBob's core character. When it became all about, damn, what a hot take. I think I gave myself a fever. Yeah, this might be the best Squidward episode of the series. As a character study, it's better than Man Geeks. Yeah, I went there. I fucking went there. We get a deep dive into Squid's moral compass and how his compassion for SpongeBob only goes as far as not wanting to be responsible for his death. Makes Squid's relationship with the guy very real, very human. Like, he doesn't really care for the guy, he just feels guilty that his death would be on his hands. Like, it's all very selfish on his part. He just wanted to cry and be a martyr and post on Instagram how sad he is over Sponge's untimely death. But up until the end, all his sorrow and guilt comes across as very genuine, which makes it even funnier when Sponge doesn't die and Squid screams in his face that he wishes he had. Shit's wild. This one absolutely has a double meaning for adults that just did not connect in my brain until like last week. It's one of those hindsight moments where it seems so obvious now.
This episode, Sandy just has full-on female freakout. Carl had to use his imagination to think about what one of those would be like.
The 25 years of age this episode has really shows in the subtext. I mean, it's basically in the title card. Pre-hibernation week. Just replace hibernation with another word and you've got the very misogynistic concept of this outing.
In the board you drew it, she drew like a big female symbol, like for girl power. It got changed to Texas because she's from Texas. And then he just rips off his nose and he throws it at her and says, "There, woman, take my nose."
The premise of the episode is that Sandy starts going crazy and forces SpongeBob to partake in a ton of dangerous extreme sports with her, with no regard for his safety. In other words, it's my girlfriend's time of the month and I have to deal with that. Jokes like these were widely accepted in the early 2000s. And 2016. And I guess now. Not much to say about this one besides addressing the irony that Tom Kenny probably has to deal with fans treating him the way SpongeBob treats Kevin here.
Hi, Kevin. I'm your biggest fan.
You're too kind.
Security!
I wonder if he had any idea how big it was going to be back in like 2002. SpongeBob tries stand up at an open mic and realizes he's not funny without Aaron Springer and C.H. Greenblatt writing his dialogue. So he does God's work and falls back on cheap racial humor to keep from bombing. Because why should he have to humiliate himself when he could be humiliating the only minority in town? Sandy raises her concerns to him in private, and in return he does blackface and calls her out publicly. His blatant disrespect visibly pisses her off, but it's probably just her time of the month again. So Sandy physically tortures him, and that's how he learns his lesson. I mean, at least the guy writes his own material. This episode honestly shows a surprisingly strong depiction of how prejudicial stereotypes can be reinforced on a massive scale by big comedians, even if done ironically. The moral takes a similar page out of South Park's book, which is interesting to me. They go with the notion that in comedy, if you target every group equally, then you victimize no one. Again, very 2000s. And I guess I don't particularly disagree, but... This is literally the same theme of Sandy dealing with racial prejudice, and it released back to back with the last one. But this time they seriously just start hucking slurs at each other.
Air breather,
Water sucker,
tree climber,
Gulf streamer,
kite flyer.
tongue chewer, but none of you wetheads.
Oh, wetheads? God damn, Sandy really do be from Texas. Built that wall, I guess. Apparently they were stuck on a theme in the writer's room that week because none of these characters learned their lesson from the last one. What's interesting about this episode is the pacing. It's the only episode to move this slowly. There are only 3 scenes, and the first one is just like an uneventful conversation between SpongeBob and Pat without much slapstick or like snappy humor or even musical cues from what I can recall. Feels almost like a one-act play. And that's not a bad thing, it's just stylistically very different from the direction of any other episode I can think of. Also, the color correction on SpongeBob is fucked up for some reason. He looks like cheese. This one just fucking hurts to watch. Reminds me more of college than any other time in my life. When we'd have a whole weekend to do an assignment that realistically would have taken an afternoon, but we just had to drag it out by putting it off and playing Smash Bros. Or snorting acetone and tripping balls like SpongeBob in this one. Like squirrel jokes, this is another one that deals with censorship in comedy. Though unlike squirrel jokes, it doesn't seem to take a hard stance on whether it's good or not. There are so many comments that would go over kids' heads like Working Blue or Squidward referencing George Carlin's 7 words you can't say on TV.
And all I could think of was shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits.
There's also that fun fact that came to light about the actors just saying real swears to get the energy right. Then they just bleeped it out in post.
Blow me!
It gets real wild once Mama Krabs shows up and never mind, we'll get to her. This one only makes sense to me as an adult, especially after working in fast food. I had no idea what this episode was about as a kid. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but honestly, what kid knows or even has the capacity to comprehend what a workers' union is? That's an alien concept to a 3rd grader. When I say this is easily one of the most adult episode premises, it has nothing to do with being inappropriate or crude. It's just, I don't know of any child that has the life experience to relate to a workers' strike. And if any of you smartasses in the comments do, then I'm pretty sure that's an OSHA violation. I'm just here to cover the scene that was cut from the DVD releases, including the Season 3 box set that I have. I had remembered seeing this scene when I caught it on TV the first time it aired, but I was always confused when it didn't show up on the DVD version. I thought I had dreamt the scene, or maybe that it was in some other episode, and the internet wasn't always immediately available in 2003, so I couldn't just look it up on YouTube or Reddit, or have AI do some deep fake of it. I'm talking about the scene where Squidward enters the Krusty Krab at night and faces off with its security system, which fucking blows him away. The scene was cut due to the explosions evoking 9/11 vibes, but it wasn't cut from the television airings, just the DVD releases, which is why I had that weird gaslighting experience. Yeah, I know what I said. The more mature themes of this one are death and coping with mortality and the question of spirituality. It's interesting how the writers had to skirt around saying the word death at any point in the episode, probably to appease the network, but they got away with telling the story that they wanted to tell. All about Mr. Krabs' main vice causing his demise and sealing his afterlife in eternal damnation, which they just refer to as Davy Jones' locker to avoid mentioning hell or any other religious overtones. As a kid, this was another episode that always confused me, and that's because of the fact that they weren't allowed to outright state that this was Mr. Krabs dying at the hospital and being sent to hell for being greedy his whole life. Instead, it's left up to interpretation. The doctor takes a look at his test results, runs out of the room screaming, "Don't touch me," and then the Flying Dutchman shows up and takes Mr. Krabs to Davy Jones' locker where he opens it up to reveal stinky gym socks before telling Krabs to get in for being cheap. Yeah, without the proper use of words like death or afterlife or even telling us what's on the clipboard the doctor looked at, it's kind of unclear to the kids watching what exactly is going on. Like, why is SpongeBob crying in the next scene while Squid says Mr. Krabs isn't coming back? Why isn't he coming back? He was only going to a stinky locker for a few minutes. Why is everyone reacting so seriously? Who died? Oh. It wasn't until revisiting this one as an adult that I finally understood the strangely grounded yet heightened stakes at play here, and how in order to get it aired, the writers had to be so cryptic about the subject. It's just vexing to me how these episodes about very mature topics are pitched successfully and go all the way to air on a children's TV network. Big execs often refuse to budge on concepts that don't relate to the average kid in the US. I guess the whole premise of SpongeBob SquarePants is already breaking that mold. It centers around a character like presumably in his 30s and has him working a fast food job instead of attending grade school as the setting. Fast food for thought, bitch. Now we come to the cream of the crop, the whole reason I decided to make this video in the first place. Arguably the most adult episode of SpongeBob around or in town. Want to talk about concepts that aren't even trying to connect with a K-12 audience? Try an episode about a midlife crisis. As far as I know, this episode is still banned on Paramount Plus Ultra, but not for the midlife crisis theme, no, for the fabled panty raid scene. This one's all about Mr. Krabs' midlife crisis when he tries to go out on a Friday night with Sponge and Pat. The drug reference is fun, but the real shit is the panty raid, where Krabs somehow sneaks into his own mother's house and takes her underwear without realizing where he is. Old man really is senile. The implications of SpongeBob and Patrick going regularly to an elderly woman's house to steal her undies? It's mind-boggling. I get why they took this one down. That's some Animal House shit, and it does not fit Viacom's perfect little LGBTQ plus ultra image of SpongeBob. And now we got just a couple of episodes that came out after both the first SpongeBob movie and Steve Hillenburg leaving the show. Weekstruck gets a lot of flack. Most of the criticism I hear has to do with how unpleasant everyone is towards SpongeBob and his newfound wig. And I agree. It is upsetting to watch my boy get constantly antagonized for dressing the way he wants to dress, to the point where the bullying becomes too much, and the idea that his wig is stupid finally does its damage and changes his beliefs about it. They beat him down till he relents. They effectively break him. And the show kind of treats SpongeBob like he's in the wrong here, except after he gives it up the very next day, it becomes a full-on trend that absolutely everyone is following, and it's because some popular band is now wearing the same wig on their new album cover. And this quickly angers SpongeBob, who points out the hypocrisy straight away, and that's how the episode ends. So, I don't know. I guess it could be viewed as more of a commentary on how fickle society can be when it comes to trends versus individuality. How, for example, socks and sandals are seen as an ugly and offensive fashion statement to most. But imagine Taylor Swift started wearing that tomorrow. I think a few 100 million people might change their tune like the tides and then justify the reasons on Twitter. Sorry, I mean eczema. Season 5 has a lot of mediocre to straight up bad episodes, and about 4 great ones. This is one of them. The writers took this opportunity to poke fun at Nickelodeon's money milking from SpongeBob as an IP. This was around the time that Nick had basically rebranded as the SpongeBob Network, often airing nothing but the Sponge for hours at a time. Merchandising was, and still is, making outstanding returns, and SpongeBob was sitting pretty at the top of the cartoon charts. We got a parody of this within the episode as Mr. Krabs fully rebrands his restaurant as the Krusty Sponge, complete with costumes, merchandise, and gimmicky yellow meat patties, all to cash in on SpongeBob's popularity amongst Bikini Bottom dwellers as the fry cook. The yellow sponge patties turn out to be expired regular patties, and Krabs ends up poisoning a ton of people. So they take his ass to court, but he gets off scot-free because the judge is a huge SpongeBob fan. I bet this happened to one of the writers who, dodged a parking ticket or something. System's rigged, bruh. Anyway, that wraps up the list. There's more adult jokes and clever stuff I missed, but these were the ones that I had something to say about. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to leave